I suppose we should talk about the shift. I mean, it very much talks about or references 2001 and Solaris, and you use sound from them as well. Is that right?
I did use like the beep 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 from Solaris is in there, and some humming sound from 2001. They're extremely small sound particles. You could always say dust, sound dust.
But aesthetically, they're very simple.
I believe that the well, who among you is into film knows that once you stop shooting, actually the work begins, and then not only anti-editing, but also the anti-sound work begins. And that when we talk about movies, we always talk about what we see. Okay, maybe some specialists say like, well, the special effects sounded really great or something, but that's it. And there's, of course, for a sound person, that's horrible because their work is basically to create the whole sound carpet, the whole sounds, and the whole sound design and everything, which is a tremendously fascinating work. And so I believe, like, let's talk about Solaris or 2001, that these films live as much from the sound as they live from the images. And quoting these 2 little or 3 little sound particles in my project, I believe that people, together with the images that we shot, think about Solaris in 2001, because subconsciously that beep, 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 beep makes something with them.
It takes them back to there.
In a way, yeah. I wanted to do something about science fiction too, and we did it by doing this kind of retro science fiction that shows spaces that are actually banal. Many of them, some of them are really high-tech, like this, for those among you who have seen it already, that space, white space with that black cubes that looks like Hall in 2001. That's a supercomputer that you can actually book yourself in if you're a company, and for a few hours it probably costs $1 million to calculate what you have to calculate in a very quick time.
Yes, we work with the supercomputing people at Swinburne.
There's this rotating wheel that is the CERN, is one of the detectors at the CERN, which is probably at the moment the ultimate experiment on Earth. And I just heard today that yesterday they finally found the first neutrino that they're looking for. If in the talk with the astronaut yesterday, we're talking about the ultimate experiments in space, that the CERN is the ultimate experiment on Earth, I believe, at the moment. And so that wheel is one of the detectors there. But then you have also simple mining tunnels and corridors and a very old, like 120 years old, control center of an old power station. And so there's this yesterday, tomorrow thing in the project.
I mean, I think aesthetically, they seem to me to reference those films as well. I mean, part of the reason why I'm harking back to this is that when Emma and I were thinking about Star Voyager, we were completely obsessed in 2001 and Solaris. And that was sort of, those and Alien were the films that we really felt, I suppose, epitomised what we were trying to do. Particularly aesthetically, I think there was a design component to those films that we were.
I also think that these images are so much. Once you saw one of these films, only once, if you've seen it once, you will never forget it. They are so strong. They're so also because I believe also because they're very differently shot from normal narrative movies. There's this incredible interpretation of time in 2001 and in Solaris, and the translation of the psychology of the characters into images. It's just marvelously done. And then when we shot that, later on, when I did the catalog about the work, I was looking for some images from Solaris and 2001. And we've put them together and found out that we instinctively had chosen similar perspectives, similar, you know, there's this one in the catalog, you can see it, where we actually put them together. Or the astronaut playing the horn in that round image, and I think these 2 films, they created
sort of subliminal language that you've taken on.
Absolutely, iconography of science fiction in the moving image that is unavoidable when you start to shoot yourself. You cannot do it in a very different way. You always come to that.
I mean, for those of you who've seen it, there's a beautiful moment where suddenly all the screens come together and the protagonist gets out his French horn and he plays, and then it all sort of very existential moment in this white light, and it's suddenly you're in the snow. Can you tell us a bit about that? And that?
Well, the thing with the French horn is that absurd turnaround that many of the films are important, I think, and I like to say that the characters have secrets even towards me, although I invent them, but I can't really tell why he does that. It's just something that is absolutely necessary in that moment. That he does
because
that.
suddenly he seems less lonely because he's doing the same.
It's for sure a very, very human moment, a very intimate moment, and as he's playing a quartet with himself with 4 lines, that's actually also makes you maybe think about the soundtrack of 2001, Zarathustra. But it's not, it's a chromatic study from an unknown composer who just writes music to learn the instrument. And it's this moment like the guy we saw before, the stunt man taking these drops, and I don't know what's in that. But
I wondered that.
But he has to do it all the time. And I think these moments are important to give this poetic dimension to the project in a moment when you are needing it in a way.
Yes, because it's so you get such a sense of the relentlessness of whatever task he's doing. He's just doing it, and you don't get much of a sense of whether he's thinking it through or it's just automatic. And then that moment with the French horn it's sort of sad, but it's beautiful, and you're sort of there with him suddenly.
And also before, I think, when he wanders through space in his 4 different costumes, he's just everyone. And in that specific moment, he's a very individual person with very individual talent and psyche.